The third-person shooter survival horror game, Resident Evil 4, was created by Capcom Production Studio 4 and launched by Capcom. It was first made available on January 11, 2005, for the GameCube. Soon enough, Resident Evil 5, a sequel to Resident Evil 4, was released to the public in 2009. Resident Evil 4 will have its remake and will be soon released in 2023 on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, and Windows platforms. In this video we will talk about Resident Evil 4 Remake, release date, platforms, and everything we know so far. But before we get into it, do me a favor and smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button for notifications whenever a new video is published. In the Capcom 5, Resident Evil 4 was intended as a GameCube exclusive, but it was later released in a variety of formats and became a cross-platform success, selling more than 11 million copies on various platforms. It won numerous Game of the Year honors in 2005 and received widespread praise for its plot, gameplay, visuals, voice acting, and characters. It is frequently cited as one of the best video games ever developed. It helped popularize the over-the-shoulder third-person perspective and inspired the development of the survival horror and third-person genres. The Resident Evil 4 Remake reveal was one of 2022's biggest surprises. It continues Capcom's recent practice of remaking the series' earlier titles with entirely fresh aesthetics and gameplay and story tweaks to make them more suitable for contemporary gamers. We've only seen a brief teaser so far that showcases the game's new appearance. The remake of Resident Evil 4 might be significantly different from the original if we take a hint from the previous two games' remakes. Creator's view and history. Resident Evil 2 was in the works for the PlayStation 2 in 1999, according to producer Shinji Mikami. The first version of Resident Evil 4 was directed by Hideki Kamiya. Around the turn of the millennium, Resident Evil 2 writer Noboru Sugimura created a story for the game, based on Kamiya's idea to make a cool and stylish action game. The story was based on unraveling the mystery surrounding the body of the protagonist, Tony, an invincible man with skills and an intellect exceeding most people's. The team spent 11 days in the United Kingdom and Spain photographing objects such as Gothic statues, bricks, and stone pavements for use in textures. Kamiya felt that the playable character did not look brave and heroic enough in battles from a fixed angle, so he decided to drop the pre-rendered backgrounds from previous installments and use a dynamic camera system. Although the creators made an effort to integrate the coolness idea into the Resident Evil universe, Mikami believed it deviated too much from the survival horror series' origins and gradually persuaded the team to create a separate game. In August 2001, Devil May Cry, a new Capcom franchise, was published for the PlayStation 2. Mikami directed most of the development of Resident Evil 4 when it was first released on the Nintendo GameCube. Since then, he has developed games like The Evil Within and Vanquish, both of which included numerous Resident Evil 4-inspired elements. Mikami expressed his support for a Resident Evil 4 remake in an interview with VG247, stating that fans would most likely want it, and so that's a positive thing. Mikami also stated that it would be fantastic if Capcom could do a wonderful job and improve the story and provide a high-quality product. Mikami continued by saying that he was unable to tell the story he wanted to during the production of Resident Evil 4 because of the film's strict deadlines, and he believes that a possible Resident Evil 4 remake will allow him to do so. Although Resident Evil 4 is regarded as one of the most renowned games of all time, more contemporary games may have offered more compelling storylines. This is true even if the game has a fantastic ensemble of Resident Evil characters, including Leon, Ada, and Wesker. Trailer. Capcom has returned with actual gameplay footage just 1 week after announcing the Resident Evil 4 remake. What a way to spoil the fan base. More of the Resident Evil 4 remake was showcased on Monday during the Capcom showcase. There wasn't much gameplay in the last teaser, despite having in-game footage. Thankfully, this updated developer walkthrough contains more depth. Leon is seen cautiously navigating a spooky village in the Spanish countryside. Unfortunately, there are no funny bingo jokes for devoted followers. Release date. Although the Resident Evil 4 remake has been in development for some time, we now have some solid information, including a specific release date. The release date for Resident Evil 4 Remake is set for March 24, 2023. Considering that the game was only recently announced, this isn't too far off. Although things could change, this might be the ideal time to release the next Resident Evil remake before a new core game is released. Additionally, PSVR 2 content for the game has been announced. A release date has not yet been announced for this. Platforms. The PS5 version of Resident Evil 4 Remake will be available, and it was previously announced that it would also be released on the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and PC back in June 2022. Although we don't have any information about last-generation consoles, considering the game's release date, it appears that an Xbox One and PS4 release may not be available. It also has support for PSVR 2, Sony's next-generation virtual reality headset. It's unclear exactly what this will include. We're certain it will be the most frightful way to experience Resident Evil 4, whether it's the entire game in VR or just a portion of the experience. Resident Evil 4 Remake story. What is now known, according to a blog post, is 6 years have passed since the biological disaster in Raccoon City. Leon S. Kennedy, one of the survivors of the incident, has been recruited as an agent reporting directly to the president. With the experience of multiple missions on his back, Leon is sent to rescue the kidnapped daughter of the President of the United States. He tracks her to a secluded European village, where there is something wrong with the villagers. And the curtain rises on this story of grueling survival horror and rescue. There is a maze of ambushes and traps for Leon to cross because the locals there have been badly affected by a mysterious plague that has made them irrational and vicious. Albert Wesker, Ada Wong, and other characters are all involved in the usual Resident Evil hijinks that are going on in the background. Despite a tone that occasionally leans extremely realistically, it all comes together to create one of Resident Evil's more pulpy plots. We anticipated a storyline that would be quite similar to the original's premise. However, given how lengthy the first Resident Evil 4 was, we might experience a few surprises along the way. Capcom has a lot of flexibility to change the sequence of some events to feel innovative. Characters and cast. Only a brief teaser trailer for Resident Evil 4 Remake has been released thus far, but it did feature a few beloved characters. Ada Wong, Ashley Graham, Leon S. Kennedy, Luis Serra, and President Graham are the people who have so far been confirmed. We think that Ashley Graham in the Resident Evil 4 Remake is becoming the facial model for Jill Valentine, similar to how Russian model Sasha Zitova became the facial model for Jill Valentine in the Resident Evil 3 Remake. Dutch model Ella Freya confirmed her involvement in the project shortly after the Resident Evil 4 Remake announcement, posting a photo of Ashley Graham to indicate that this is her role. Google's translation of her tweet read, "When I saw the trailer, I was almost crying. I'm too happy now. Thank you everyone from the bottom of my heart." The only cast member that has been officially confirmed so far is Ella, but we're confident that more information will continue to surface. If the trailer is any indication, Leon and Ada's voice actors will probably also appear again. In the trailer, Leon can be heard reprising his part. Gameplay. How Resident Evil 4 Remake will play is what must be looked into. Resident Evil 4 already seems to be a combination between Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 2 based just on the trailer and the information we have available about it, at least in terms of the action and survival horror elements. You can immediately tell from the revealed trailer that the graphics are a huge improvement. One result of this will be much more realistic lighting, which might make a variety of settings, including crumbling homes and castle interiors, look much creepier and atmospheric. Ashley, the president's daughter, appeared in an intriguing third-person shot, which would indicate that in this version, we get to control her. If done right, this might be a genuinely spooky and enjoyable chapter, similar to how you play Sherry in Resident Evil 2. We also catch a glimpse of Chief Mendez, who looks eerily like Mr. X in a trench coat and tiny hat. He might play a bigger part in tracking you down in the village and castle, and that would be awesome. Additionally, there are some images of an updated Luis and Ada. I hope Ada and I will be able to play different sections. It would be fascinating to see if Capcom has made the escorting process a little smoother and simpler to control. We can get glimpses of returning characters that will help Leon along the way, and the game also has him shepherding Ashley, the kidnapped target, for a lot of its duration. We might expect to encounter a wider variety of opponents in the villages and castle that Leon must explore because Capcom did reveal in its summer demo that the Ganados, the game's primary enemy type, have been completely reworked to be scarier. PC requirements. The graphic needs for Resident Evil 4 are well illustrated by the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3. The following CPUs and GPUs are guaranteed to provide the necessary processing power for this upcoming third-person survival horror action game. The recommended specs for Resident Evil Village include an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 or Intel Core i7 8700 CPU, 16GB of RAM, and an AMD Radeon RX 5700 or NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 GPU. The minimum requirements for Resident Evil Village called for you to have an AMD Ryzen 3 1200 or Intel Core i5-7500 CPU, 8GB of RAM, and an AMD Radeon RX 560 with 4GB VRAM or NVIDIA GeForce GTX 10. Given that the finest affordable gaming laptops can easily outperform that, an RTX 3060 GPU may be sufficient for Resident Evil 4 Remake. Have you played the original Resident Evil 4? What do you think about the remake? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications on our future content. With that being said, see you in the next one.